I do want to mention Nyck de Vries because what a weekend he had. Take me through it, because to do what he did in a Williams, I mean, we've been seeing Nicholas Latifi race this entire season, and he hasn't been able to accomplish what we just saw de Vries accomplish.
Yeah, that's right. And also Nyck de Vries started the weekend at Aston Martin as a FP1 kind of test reserve driver.
I bet his head was swirling.
Yeah. And that's also an accomplishment because these cars, although, they're all performing on a similar level, they're quite different in the way you operate them, the switches on the steering wheel, all of that kind of stuff. And around a track like that, which is not an easy track, it's impressive. And what's more, I mean, look, everything Nyck de Vries did this weekend, easily out-qualifying his teammate. Sure, he benefited from some grid penalties for other drivers, but then still performed in the race. He could have easily dropped down the field had he not been up to scratch, but he didn't. He held position and he took the fight to a number of drivers. But also to do that in a car that isn't built around you, is very impressive. He had real shoulder pains, and I think part of that was just because of the way the seatbelts kind of came over his shoulders. He's quite lucky in that he's relatively small, and it's much harder if you're a very tall driver trying to squash yourself into a cockpit. But he still wasn't comfortable. The seat wasn't properly fitted to him, and so at the end of the race, he couldn't get himself out of the car. You'll find it on Twitter, on Instagram, on F1.com or whatever. But there's this video of him in the car calling to his engineer and saying, is someone allowed to come and help me, because I'm actually stuck in the car, I cannot get out. And this is a fit racing driver. He's done a year in Formula E, of course. He's champion of Formula E from previous year as well. So we know he's very good, but it does show you that extra level of physicality essentially in Formula One, and at a racetrack like Monza where they try and strip all the downforce off the car. It's got skinny wings. It's moving around at high speeds. And he was just up to that level. So what really pleases me about this is that it puts him in a position to say, look, I deserve to be on the grid next year. And ever since he won his Formula 2 title, I think a lot of people have felt, he didn't really get a proper shot at it. Many people criticised him for that Formula 2. Well, not criticised him, but said that the field wasn't particularly strong in that Formula 2 year. Therefore, it's not as kind of great as George Russell's Formula 2 victory championship or Charles Leclerc's. But, I think he's proven that he deserves to be in F1. So now that it looks like he's got interest from Williams, certainly, potentially Alpine as well, I hope to see him on the grid next year.
I think it's always incredible when you see a young driver who, as you mentioned, is waiting and working so hard for that opportunity. When the opportunity finally comes in that kind of scenario, for them to step in and make the most of it, I think that's exactly what we saw him do. And you applaud him, and you hope that it does ultimately get him a seat in 2023, certainly. So we'll, of course, wait to see what happens there. I do want to pivot to the doghouse. We had a lot of DNFs this weekend. So who are you putting in the doghouse and why?
It has to be Nicholas Latifi, the other half of the Williams garage there, because look, here's a guy who his seat is on the line. We're not really expecting Nicholas Latifi to be renewed for another year. You go to Monza, a track where the Williams is actually quite well suited. It stands a chance. Your regular teammate who is really very good, Alex Albon, gets appendicitis. It's your time to shine. It's your time to lead the team to a points finish, which was clearly what was possible. Yet Nyck de Vries stands in, out-qualifies him, outperforms him in the race. And, it's already been talked about almost quite openly by Williams as their first choice ahead of Nicholas Latifi for next year. And so, I think there's a number of occasions we probably could have put Latifi in the doghouse, but we always gave him a bit of an easy ride because, it's a tricky car to drive. I think expectations as well, let's be honest, are never set that high with Latifi, but this time it was just kind of all a bit too obvious. And shame because he's a nice guy, but in Formula One, you have to perform. And at a time when he probably had an opportunity to perform better than his teammate, probably should have, given all his experience in that car. He did.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content plus live streaming, make sure to subscribe to ESPN Player.